It's always interesting to hear or read what Todd Howard says about The Elder Scrolls 6. And this time, our boy Todd says that they need to get it right. Now, this is one of those statements that sounds reassuring on the surface, but it also highlights the uneasy reality surrounding The Elder Scrolls 6. Todd Howard saying we need to get it right is absolutely true. The problem is that Bethesda has put itself in a position where getting it right isn't enough anymore. After 8 years of silence, expectations are, as far as I'm concerned, really high. But let's start with a good news. The fact that Howard says most of Bethesda Game Studios is now working on Elder Scrolls 6 suggests the game is finally in full production mode. And that's a significant thing because for years the project was effectively on the back burner while the studio focused on Starfield and its expansions. So if the majority of the studio is now dedicated to The Elder Scrolls 6, you could reasonably expect development is going to accelerate. However, what really stands out for me is Howard admitting he questions whether announcing the game in 2018 was the right decision. And to be honest, he's right to question it. That reveal trailer has become one of the strangest announcements in gaming history. I mean, when I saw it for the first time, I kinda expected that the game is gonna come out in at least, 4, maybe 5 years. But it turns out, Bethesda essentially announced a game that barely existed at the time. There was no gameplay, no story details, no release window, and 8 years later, we still don't know anything about the game. Also, Todd saying just pretend we didn't announce it was kinda funny, but it also feels like an acknowledgement that the reveal was a mistake. I mean, imagine announcing a game and then disappearing for nearly a decade. Most studios would probably get absolutely roasted for that. But when I think about it, Bethesda is getting roasted, so I guess there's that as well. One thing I need to emphasize, this isn't just another Bethesda game. This is the sequel to The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, one of the most influential RPGs ever made. Skyrim has sold tens of millions of copies and has remained relevant for over a decade through mods, re-releases, and community support. So the challenge for Bethesda isn't making a good RPG. The challenge is making a sequel worthy of a game that has become a cultural phenomenon. And that's a much harder task, especially when you take into account what I call the Starfield factor. You see, whether Bethesda likes it or not, Starfield changed the whole conversation. When the game launched, I had high expectations for it, because obviously why wouldn't I? But then when I saw what the game is all about, its exploration systems, loading screens, repetitive procedural content, and lack of the seamless world design, it's fair to say that I was completely disappointed. And because of that, I no longer give Bethesda the benefit of the doubt automatically. Before Starfield, I kinda assumed Elder Scrolls 6 would be incredible. But after Starfield, there are several questions that were going through my head. For example, has Bethesda evolved enough? Can the creation engine still compete? Will exploration feel modern? Will NPCs and quests be more dynamic? And finally, and the most important question, has the studio learned from recent criticism? Those questions sort of existed on a certain scale a few years ago, but with Starfield, they have intensified. So based on this, the biggest risk isn't that the Elder Scrolls 6 will be bad. The biggest risk is that they're going to incorporate what they already produced in Starfield, make a slightly prettier version of Skyrim, and that's basically it. That's the fucking game. Now, I made a video about what would I like to see in The Elder Scrolls 6, but basically, these are the things that I expect from the game. Better combat, better animations, better NPC behavior, more reactive worlds, stronger storytelling, and less reliance on loading screens, which is basically what Starfield lacked to begin with. And if Bethesda delivers Skyrim 2, in the most literal sense, it's going to be outdated as fuck. Oh yeah, and let's not forget, no bugs at launch. I really want to play a game from start to finish that isn't going to have a game-breaking bug, or with me not dreading that something is going to happen and then my whole save is going to be tanked. Because that almost happened, and what's even funny, the same bug happened in Fallout 4. So from a certain point of view, it's a good thing because I found a fix, albeit almost barely. But at the same time, it shows you that they don't really give a shit about the stability of the game. And that's not me being mean, that's just a factual truth. Now, the fact that Microsoft and Bethesda continue to avoid showing the game tells me one thing. They know exactly how important the first gameplay reveal is. And if they are smart, they will probably emulate what we saw for the first time when Skyrim was announced. There are also talks about waiting until they can show the game, while saying it's coming soon. And I would argue that's a smart thing to do because nobody wants another situation where we are waiting another 5 years after seeing gameplay. So when Elder Scrolls 6 finally reappears, I expect Bethesda to have a much shorter marketing cycle than people think, and I would say that probably 1 to 2 years from reveal to launch is the right way to do it. Finally, I want to say one thing. Todd Howard is correct. Bethesda really needs to get this right. Not because Elder Scrolls is a beloved franchise or because Xbox needs exclusives. They need to make it right because The Elder Scrolls 6 has spent 8 years transforming from a highly anticipated RPG into a mythical game that exists mostly in people's imaginations. And the longer the wait continues, the harder it becomes to meet expectations. Also, after the mixed reaction to Starfield, Bethesda no longer has the luxury of saying, "Guys, just trust us." Now, they have to prove it. And that's basically my take on this news. Thanks very much for watching, and as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And that's it from me, until the next one.